Have you ever felt like you're losing yourself trying to please others? Your life becomes a reflection of what others expect from you, while your true essence silently screams for freedom. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, teaches us that within each of us lies a transformative power just waiting to be heard. In this video, we'll explore how to stop living for others and start reconnecting with yourself right now. Jung offers tools that can change your life and guide us on this journey of self-discovery. If you're ready for this transformation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any step of this journey. The unconscious, according to Carl Jung, is like a vast ocean, where our deepest emotions, memories, and desires lie. It's not something distant or mysterious, but rather an integral part of who we are. Often, we neglect this part of ourselves, living superficially and disconnected from our true essence. However, the unconscious is always at work, influencing our actions, choices, and even our relationships without us being fully aware of it. Have you ever stopped to think about how many decisions in your life were driven by something you didn't realize at the moment? We live in a society that values the rational, the conscious, the visible. The search for clear and immediate answers has distanced us from our unconscious, which operates in a more intuitive, fluid way. However, by ignoring this deep layer of the psyche, we set aside a great source of wisdom. Our unconscious communicates with us through symbols, dreams, and emotions. These signals, although often subtle, carry great meaning. How many times have you had the feeling that something was wrong, even when everything seemed fine? Perhaps that was a message from your unconscious trying to alert you to something you weren't willing to see. The unconscious is also the guardian of our shadows, the parts of us that we prefer to ignore or reject. These shadows are made up of aspects that don't fit into the image we want to show the world, like fears, insecurities, or parts of our personality that we refuse to acknowledge. However, these denied parts don't disappear. They manifest in distorted ways, often as internal conflicts or self-sabotaging behaviors. Facing our shadows and allowing them space in our consciousness is a crucial step toward healing and self-awareness. Are you willing to confront what's been hidden within you for so long? The unconscious often reveals itself in our relationships with others. Projections are a clear example of this. When we project our unresolved fears or desires onto other people, we end up living in a distorted reality, where the other becomes an extension of our own internal issues. What do you think you're seeking in others that, in fact, needs to be found within yourself? Are you allowing yourself to look inward and listen to the voice that comes from there? The key to a more authentic and conscious life lies in learning to listen to and integrate the unconscious. This doesn't mean blindly following its suggestions, but rather having the courage to face the symbols, dreams, and emotions that arise so we can learn from them. By doing this, we become more whole, balanced, and connected with our true nature. If you allow yourself to listen to your unconscious, it becomes not just a guide, but also a powerful ally in the journey of self-knowledge and transformation. Are you ready to hear what your unconscious has to say? The shadow, a central concept in Carl Jung's ideas, represents the parts of ourselves that we deny or repress, the traits and aspects of our personality that don't fit the image we want to project to the world. Often, these parts are made up of qualities we consider ugly, weak, or undesirable, and therefore, we choose to hide them from both our own view and the view of others. However, the shadow doesn't disappear simply because it's ignored. It manifests in disguised ways, through behaviors, feelings, and thoughts that often catch us by surprise. Confronting the shadow is one of the greatest challenges of self-knowledge, as it forces us to deal with aspects of ourselves we'd rather not see. Yet, Jung teaches us that this part of ourselves, far from being negative, is essential for our growth. When we accept and integrate our shadows, we become more complete and authentic. This integration doesn't mean acting impulsively or destructively, but rather recognizing these parts of our psyche and learning to coexist with them in a healthy and constructive way. Imagine for a moment that you have a dark side, a part of you that doesn't fit the perfection standards you try to achieve. It could be a deep fear, an emotional weakness, or even a behavior you consider immoral. This part of you, when repressed or ignored, doesn't disappear. It manifests in indirect ways, appearing in moments of frustration, anger, or anxiety, or even in dreams and fantasies. True freedom comes when you stop running from these parts and begin to accept them as part of who you are, without shame or guilt. The rejection of the shadow can also lead to projections. When we don't accept our own shadow, we tend to project it onto others. For example, you might feel bothered by someone who exhibits behavior you consider weak or imperfect, but that judgment could be a reflection of a rejected aspect of yourself. When you learn to integrate your shadow, these judgments fade, because you recognize there's nothing wrong with being imperfect, human, and vulnerable. The process of integrating the shadow is profoundly liberating. When you allow it to come to the surface without fear or guilt, you begin to recover a vital energy that was once blocked. The shadow carries within it wisdom that, when accessed, brings a new perspective of yourself and the world around you. This process of integration brings balance, as you start to live more authentically, no longer running from or denying who you truly are. True transformation happens when you accept yourself in your entirety, with all your shadows and lights, creating a stronger and truer version of yourself. Have you ever found yourself finishing a conversation or interaction with someone, only to feel completely exhausted, as if all your energy had been drained? Carl Jung warns us that human interactions can be powerful sources of energy exchange, and often, we are unaware of how much energy we are giving away to others. Some people have the ability to siphon off our vitality, leaving us drained, while others can invigorate and inspire us. But what determines this energy exchange? Why do we feel so exhausted with some people and so energized by others? Jung believed that our external relationships are a reflection of the internal dynamics happening within us. When we are emotionally imbalanced, vulnerable, or out of alignment with our true selves, we are more susceptible to allowing others to drain our energy. People with denser or more manipulative energy can take advantage of this vulnerability, involving us in a cycle of fatigue and frustration. This happens because, often, we fail to establish healthy and clear boundaries in our relationships. We allow others to invade our emotional space without realizing the impact it has on us. The first step to changing this pattern is understanding the importance of setting clear boundaries. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being rigid or selfish, but rather recognizing that your energy is precious and that you have the right to protect it. When you allow people or situations to drain your energy, you are unconsciously telling yourself that your vitality is invaluable. Learning to say no or limiting interaction with those who don't benefit you is an act of self-preservation and self-respect. Not only does this improve your well-being, but it also teaches others to respect your space. Additionally, we need to be aware that it's not just in interactions with others that we can be drained, but also in the environments and situations we find ourselves in. Toxic environments, whether in work or social settings, can significantly impact our energy. The energy of a place, the type of conversations, or the constant pressure of certain situations can wear us down subtly, but powerfully. Jung suggested that when we align with our true essence, we begin to consciously perceive and choose the environments and people we connect with. When we are aligned with our deepest self, we are more capable of discerning what is healthy for our energy and what should be avoided. Finally, one of the greatest steps in protecting your energy is learning to nurture it. This can be done through self-care practices, meditation, breathing exercises, or any other activity that helps you reconnect with yourself. When you strengthen yourself internally, it becomes harder to be affected externally by those who try to drain your energy. The practice of presence, inner silence, and connection with the present moment also helps create a more solid energetic field, resistant to external influences. This way, you begin to recover your energy and live with more balance, protecting yourself from interactions that can be harmful to your emotional and energetic health. The process of individuation is, according to Carl Jung, the path to deep self-knowledge and personal transformation. He describes this process as the journey each person takes to become who they truly are by integrating all parts of their psyche, both the conscious and the unconscious. Individuation is not a linear journey, nor something that happens quickly. On the contrary, it is an ongoing and often challenging process where we face our shadows, deal with our fears, and accept aspects of ourselves that we had previously avoided. This path, although often painful, is essential for achieving inner balance and true freedom. The first step in individuation is self-knowledge. In order to become who we truly are, we must first deeply know ourselves. This involves looking within ourselves with sincerity, without masks or disguises. It is necessary to confront our limiting beliefs, our deepest fears, and even the illusions we have built over time. Individuation requires courage because it challenges us to question everything we believe to be true about ourselves. Are we willing to abandon old identities and embrace the unknown, knowing that the only way to find ourselves is by allowing our true essence to emerge? Individuation also involves integrating our shadow, the part of ourselves that we reject or repress. As we saw earlier, the shadow contains characteristics that we do not want to see or accept in ourselves. Often, these negative aspects manifest in unconscious ways, affecting our relationships and decisions. However, when we accept and integrate our shadow, we find a source of power and authenticity. Individuation does not mean erasing or denying these parts of ourselves, but rather recognizing and using them constructively. When we manage to integrate our shadow, we become more complete and balanced because there are no longer parts of ourselves that are ignored or repressed. Another important aspect of individuation is the reconciliation between the ego and the self. The ego, which represents our conscious identity, and the self, which is the center of our psyche, often find themselves in conflict. The ego tries to protect our external image, while the self seeks the realization of our deeper and more authentic potential. Individuation requires us to find a balance between these two forces, allowing the ego to be guided by the wisdom of the self, without clinging to false images of who we are or external expectations. This involves an internal reconciliation where we let go of the social roles we assume and begin to live according to our inner truth. As we progress on the path of individuation, we also learn to let go of what no longer resonates with our being. This can include toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, destructive habits, or anything that keeps us tied to the past. The process of letting go is liberating because it creates space for our true essence to manifest. When we release what no longer serves us, we make room for new beginnings and for connection with what truly matters for our spiritual and personal growth. Therefore, the process of individuation is one of constant evolution, where we become more aligned with who we truly are, freeing ourselves from the chains that prevent us from living fully. Finally, individuation is the path to freedom. When we manage to integrate all parts of ourselves, when we allow ourselves to live authentically and truly, we experience a deep sense of freedom. Freedom is not simply the absence of external restrictions, but the ability to live aligned with our deepest essence, without fear or shame of who we are. Individuation frees us from the world's expectations and connects us with our own truth, allowing us to live a fuller and more meaningful life. This path, although challenging, is the only one that leads us to true fulfillment and inner peace. Throughout this video, we explored together Carl Jung's proposed journey of personal transformation, focusing on how we can free ourselves from external expectations, integrate our shadows, and reclaim our vital energy. As we've seen, the process of self-knowledge and individuation is not easy, but it is essential for reconnecting with our deepest and most authentic essence. By facing our fears, letting go of what no longer serves us, and integrating all parts of ourselves, we begin to live with more balance and purpose. This path requires courage, self-compassion, and patience. There is no magic formula for transformation, but the constant practice of seeking to understand ourselves, setting healthy boundaries, and accepting who we truly are can bring profound change. Individuation is an ongoing process, and as we move forward on this journey, we begin to perceive the world differently, with more clarity, authenticity, and freedom. Now that you know more about the importance of individuation and how it can transform your life, the next step is to take action. The first step is to begin your own journey of self-knowledge, with a willingness to look within and face your shadows. It may be a long and challenging path, but the reward is immense. The freedom to be who you truly are. Leave a comment letting us know what you felt while watching this video and what you plan to let go of in order to reconnect with your true self. Don't forget to share this video with someone who also needs this transformation, and subscribe to continue this journey with us. The path of individuation is for those seeking true freedom. We're in this journey together.